Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. Welcome everyone to the special episode that now is a staple of our podcast with Matteo Moscarelli and Ubaldo Mafrici about the Q2 on what is happening in Italy. So welcome guys, welcome Nick, welcome Matteo, welcome Ubaldo.
Ciao Jack, welcome guys, welcome back.
Ciao everyone, thank you very much for the invitation.
Right, let's start with the usual keywords. Give me the summary of Q2 in one word, starting from Nick. Come on Nick, break the ice.
Well, a good quarter, I would say. Not as explosive as the first one, because this year it started out with the fireworks, but things are going well, and we are still waiting for seeing what happens after the slowdown in the economy, broader economy.
Okay, going in the opposite direction compared to Europe and the other parts of the world. So we kept the same pace of Q1, and this is totally weird if we look to Europe, US, and Asia. So happy about that.
Yeah, maybe I just could add on top of what they already said that it's good that Italy is counter-cyclical, so the people will look at Italy more and more now.
Yeah, I mean, what is interesting is really the straight pattern happening between Q1 and Q2. And so we're, as you guys point out, we might reach the 2 billion raised for this year. So we're like more than half away. So yeah, the numbers between Q1 and Q2 are surprisingly similar. And the dynamics also are like surprisingly similar as well. So let's maybe talk about that.
Yes, of course. So first of all, what I would like to underline here is that basically I was going through the report of Crunchbase, a global report, and I saw that we currently had a 13% decrease quarterly on quarterly in Europe, and in Italy we kept totally the same pace. Some reports says that we raised 10 million more. Our report says 10 million less, but let's say that numbers are quite equal. And what we can see globally is that we have a 31 decrease in mega rounds, and of course we had one nucleo in this quarter and one in the previous one. So we are really happy that we are doing one for each quarter, and we already have the one for the next one, since our raise 100 million this week. So of course this is not statistically significant since we are just doing one for each quarter, but still we are really happy that in Italy we are going on the opposite direction compared to the rest of the world.
Do you guys think that this is a pattern that is going to sustain, or you see something slowing it down? Because okay, one big raise per quarter, it's not bad. Do you think you guys we have like a good pattern that is going to actually increase than what is happening right now?
But I mean, we don't have a crystal ball for sure, but what I believe is that since there are more and more capital available for startups, more founders are getting into the game of entrepreneurship, the quality of deal flow is increasing in Italy. So this should lead to a funnel where at the end of it there are more and more opportunities that are worth big financial rounds. So I think that yes, ideally if the flywheel keeps spinning and it accelerates, we will see more and more mega rounds, which are the one that drives up the numbers that we all love to look at.
Awesome. Let's talk about sectors. So InsurTech and FinTech sort of kept the high pace, but this time in Q2 what we saw was more about enterprise tech and clean tech. So let's maybe talk about those numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I can just add that these numbers are quite impacted by a few rounds. Clean tech was definitely Nutio, and the price tag was Vidrai. So let's say the key thing that I would like to retain is that fintech and insurtech is the only one that is consistent, always in number of rounds and amount invested. For the other ones, I don't know. Maybe it was just a chance for this time. We will see on the next ones.
Yes, of course. And adding to what Ubaldo just said, we really see Europe-wide a concentration of interest around clean tech and climate tech. So of course we are happy to see as well in Italy the same path. And so maybe I think clean tech and climate tech will continue to do really well. And so let's see, as Ubaldo saying, we don't have a crystal ball, but still it's nice to see that fintech is keeping the pace compared to the rest of the world. So let's see when Satispay is gonna raise, and I hope soon.
Yeah, we're just waiting for Satispay to raise the rounds. This is what's announced that we're going to. So, who's betting on this quarter? Who's betting on the next quarter? Yeah.
Let's see.
Awesome. So let's talk about activity in investor land. So CDP is keeping up the high pace. It's really the protagonist, and it's been the protagonist of the past quarter, with the majority in terms of funding rounds taken singularly. And also in Q2 is still like one of the, well, actually is the top investor by number of funding rounds. Followed by Azimut, Primo Ventures, and Prana Ventures. So yeah.
Yes.
Are you happy for the podium, Nicola?
Of course I am. We are the first. Apparently, we are the first. The traditional privately managed VC in this table. I mean,
and you do have a lot of dry power, so I think you are gonna keep this pace. Let's see.
We'll try. It's not easy, but we'll try. Even though I have to say, Azimut from our weekly news, Azimut has been extremely active, considering where they're coming from. So, and it seems that they are accelerating their pace. What do you think, guys?
Yes, they invest in young platform. They led round. They are really looking to the deal flow, and so I think they did a clear strategy movement, and I think they are gonna keep investing in startups as they are doing. I mean, not startups, but scale ups.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, I like their styles of low profile, not a lot of PR and marketing, but a lot of stuff that get done. So I like their style.
And of course, congrats to CDP. I mean, they are really building and fostering the ecosystem. They now have 14 national accelerators. We are happy as Plug and Play to manage 2. And of course, they recently announced 2 new funds for a total allocation on more than 550 million. So, I mean, CDP means funds that are popping up, because they foster the ecosystem through the fund of funds, as we are currently seeing. And then, of course, they are even directly investing in startups. So we hope and we are sure that they are gonna continue to do well. And so congrats to them.
Yeah, so we always keep track of the accelerators, me and Nick, every week. We like to keep this up to see what's next, and trying to see exactly where the thing is going. They've been covering like a huge number of verticals, surprisingly. They probably are employing a lot of people, like doing deep research in different verticals, which is great. And it's very widespread even from a sector that they're not obvious, like gray tech for aging individuals, to the most maybe like common one. So that's extremely interesting, and it's extremely precise. So you mentioned, guys, that they want to reach the number of 20, and they are at 14, right? So that's the goal at the end. I was not aware of that. That's cool.
Yes, they declared publicly that they are gonna raise 20. So I think they are on good track to reach it.
Awesome.
It's interesting. I mean, think about it in terms of though. You have 20 accelerators with funding that will churn out like 5 to 10 startups per year. It's like between 100 and 200 startups worth initial funding per year, with some fundraising goals per year. That's gonna be interesting in terms of impact on deal flow and on the metrics that we'll see in the coming years. And they're building momentum there.
Yes, and of course, I have a close look to Motor Valley Accelerator and Takeoff.
Yeah.
How did it go? I mean, how much? So how did it end up? The first round, is it completed, right?
Yes, we complete the Motor Valley Accelerator batch. So now we are currently taking care of the follow-on. So we are doing a follow-on on a company, and it went really well. So we are really happy about Motor Valley Accelerator, and instead we just start with we take off. But what is nice to underline here, there is a lot of money there. Of course, we do have 21 million to invest in space tech companies, and so it's a great allocation compared to the others one. So congrats to Eugenia, and let's see. Eugenia is the program manager, one of my peers.
Yes, but actually, Matteo, I had a question on that, because I saw the allocation for Takeoff was definitely higher than those for the other accelerator on average. So is there a specific reason why? Because maybe you believe that this kind of startups are more capital intensive, or you had a lot of interest in the space from investors? What's the take on why the actually you raised a lot of money for Takeoff?
Yes, personally, I agree on what you just said. So space tech a lot of times is capital intensive. A lot of times they are hardware companies, and so they need more money to develop a prototype and an MVP. And so I think that's the reason why the government choose to allocate more money there compared to the other verticals.
Interesting.
Awesome. So let's move on maybe to there are a ton of new funds kind of raising capital and being launched, and you guys made a very interesting list, starting from let's take them quickly, like one by one, starting from Indaco Venture Partners raising with a target of about 150 million, and basically the idea is to invest in biotech startups, preclinical and clinical stages biotech startups. So that's extremely interesting. Again, we probably Indaco and the next one, 360, are probably the biggest one that raised, and they're definitely gonna deploy in the next months. What is also interesting is that also smaller like funds are being born, which is extremely hopeful for new fund managers and people that maybe want to raise capital. Italy notoriously probably has been, I don't know if you agree, but really sedimented on the old school VCs, and the raise of the new ones has been like a little bit tough, I would say. Nick is laughing. Yeah, but
we've been there.
Exactly. So that's a great signal. That's a great signal that actually can make people like even activate sort of the VC space ecosystem, and not only the startup part. So the VC manager, I would say. which is a very good point, I would say. So yeah, Indico, and then moving on to 360. First closing of 360 Square 2 with 45 million. So those are the two biggest essentially for Q2. Again, like a big spectrum of verticals. What is interesting is that all of them, they are still focusing on pre-seed and seed mostly. Nobody is really focused too much on Bs and Cs and later on. I think we're gonna get there at some point, but yeah, the seed is still the main protagonist, I would say. What is your feel on that? Yeah.
Yes, I think it's quite obvious right now, given the current condition of the public markets. So they are going down,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the reason why investors are scared in investing in later stage companies. We saw some layoff of huge scale-ups around Europe. We saw Klarna that raised really lowering its valuation. It raised the last round with 6 billion, I think, valuation, and it was like 85% decrease compared to the last one. So I think investors got scared, and scale-ups which are in the later stage are trying to extend the runaway to not raise right now, to not decrease their valuation. And so I think even fund managers are switching to pre-seed seed, which is nice, of course, because even in the pre-seed in Italy, we didn't have so much players, but at the same time, we hope that in the future, we are gonna have even later stage funds.
Mm-hmm. And what do you guys think of the argument that seed stage is going to be relatively immune to the downturn of the economy because companies have like 10 years plus projection, 5 to 10 years plus projection. So some people would argue that, okay, by the time they kind of grow to that level, then the recession or whatever downturn will be over at some point. So right now the suffering is mostly for pre-IPO and later stage, but seed is going to be solid and not really suffer too much. What is your feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. The exit horizon is even just from 3 years on away. Let's say I think it's safe.
Mm-hmm.
In that sense, and also you're not gonna, I mean, you're way less worried about multiples since this is not materialized today. So you invest if you have a good team, good market, good product, you can confidently, and I mean it's a completely different dynamic from later stage. But about what you said, of course, Italian funds are mostly focused on seed or early stage investment at the moment, but there are some initiatives also in the later stage. All those historical funds that you mentioned before, they all have in pipeline some bigger funds that they will announce, I guess, either end of this year, beginning of next year. So I think that everything, I mean, even the cycle where first you have seed and then you have late stage, is shortening up in Italy because the ecosystem has been built in a shorter time frame. So everything is coming all at once.
Yeah, that's a good point. As a fund manager, if you look at the market, you get the feeling that there is an opportunity at the later stage, because there are a lot of players with interesting portfolios at the early stage. You say, hey, why not? Why not start some different play? Maybe also in a contrarian way respect to the market. Who said be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful? Wasn't he Warren Buffett?
Mm-hmm.
Might make sense.
Definitely might work for VC as well. Also, why not?
Well, in terms of investing at the seed in the low when market is low or slow in downturn, there is this mainstream story about the biggest companies that have been launched during recessions.
True.
I have not data about that, but it seems that this, common knowledge that is true. I've got no data about that. I need to make some direct fact checking, but it seems true.
I think it may happen that seed funds are gonna focus on later stage because they see the opportunity, and the ones that are investing right now in later stage got burned by the current conditions, and maybe they are gonna switch to seed. Let's see.
It's gonna be a cross change, people moving up and people moving down. It's gonna be very interesting.
Well, in this sense, I really admire the timing of 360. So instead of going later stage, they launched a pre-seed fund with perfect timing. I believe it perfect timing. If you take for true the mainstream reasoning about seed startups and downturns, their timing is perfect. So chapeau to the strategy. If it was, I don't know whether it was something they were actively thinking about, it was just chance. But, sometimes you need luck.
Absolutely. So let's talk. I had some consideration about the smaller fund that has been raising, and I don't want to point fingers at all, but essentially, which is it has positive and negative in a way. So smaller funds meaning funds below, up to 10 million, I would say, so 4 to 10 million. The trouble that I see is that they still keep the ticket size pretty high. So with a smaller allocation, my doubt is really whether these smaller funds can really get to the return point which is sort of industry standards. So my worry is always that smaller funds, they try to sign up to actually make ticket between 200 to 300. They just can maybe invest in less than 10 and then sort of stop and pray without any follow-on and things like this. So the question is it one strategy? Is the market still need to evolve to a different level of sophistication, or what is your take on this? That was my worry a little bit.
So my personal opinion, and then I leave up to our guests, is it depends on the strategy. So if you got a 10 million euros funds, it depends on your allocation strategy in particular. I mean, I'm totally with you in terms of diversification. There is some interesting research by AngelList about the effects of being diversified and the way it is, good deals are distributed in a big sample of the market. Of course, American, not Italian, so that's you need to take that research with a pinch of salt. But still, with small fund and low diversification, you're playing a dangerous game. That's for sure. If you have little allocation for loans and you manage to put at least 20, 25 companies in your portfolio, you start building something of the right size. But probably Matteo is the one with more ideas about this. So please, Matteo.
No, I just think that this strategy is to sell on in the later rounds. So a lot of times, if you pick the right company, it arrives the huge fund, which will clear a bit the cap table, buying on the secondary, buying some shares, and I think they would like to realize gains there. Otherwise, I personally don't understand the strategy, because if you don't have money to do follow on, you don't have actually the possibility to exercise the pro-rata opportunity each time. And so I do think they would like to buy shares on the companies right now to later sell these shares to huge funds that will lead the later rounds. And maybe they would like to keep just a small percentage after the round. I think this is the only strategy that I see here. Otherwise, I totally agree with Nicola.
Awesome.
I'll put you to the research by AngelList because that's interesting. They compare the just invest and forget, invest and allocate randomly, and invest and allocate, or invest and always follow on rather than invest and decide where to follow on. And there are interesting results there. Of course, again, American markets, a different movie, but I'll send you the paper. It's very interesting. Nice. Ubaldo, do you have any?
I think you covered much of the topics. I don't want to repeat what you just said.
So guys, let's talk about the second Italian unicorn in this point, which is Facile.it. So let's give me some perspectives on that. What is your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it didn't get a lot of press, not being, let's say, a classic unicorn in the sense that maybe it's still like founder-led, or since this was more like a private equity transaction, so it was kind of a little bit different from what we're used to see in startup land. But so I actually thought about it, whether we should put it in our review, or maybe consider it a unicorn. But then, I mean, I tried to be as scientific as possible, in the sense that if you consider that it's a private company with an enterprise value which is greater than 1 billion, which is born from the early 2000s on, and has raised external capital for growth, well, that matches all the most common things that you want to have to be considered a unicorn. So and it's based 100% in Italy. With a great team that they employ a lot of people in tech, etc. So I think it's a really good success story of a tech company that is born and raised in Italy. So I consider it to be officially the second Italian unicorn.
Awesome.
I was looking for the year of foundation of Facile.it, and on Crunchbase it is 2011. So basically it is in the tens, not in the aughts.
2011, amazing. It's even better.
Yes, but from Crunchbase. So I'm checking whether it's true or not. Because, sometimes. But then I totally agree with you. I'm really with you. Even more if it is really from the 2011.
Yeah.
So that's 11 years path to unicorn. I mean,
yeah, that's
by the book.
Respect, maximum respect.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say, yeah.
Awesome. So, also what I found really interesting also was the list that you guys put together, the fastest growing companies from Sole 24 Ore. So what caught my eye was actually that only a very minority is VC backed, and the big majority of the fastest growing companies in Italy is not necessarily like a digital startup or like tech company. So I don't know, give me some insights on this list, because it was very, very interesting material for sure.
Of course, we did the same with the Financial Times list, the previous report, and so we thought it can be interesting to do the same here. And so basically we inserted the first 50 companies, and we saw that just 22% of them are VC or crowd-baked, so not strictly VC-baked. But basically what we can say here is what we already said in the past. So in Italy, we have the power of a small medium enterprise that maybe are family-owned companies. They are not open to external funding, and I think this is my main takeaway about this list, and the reason why they are not VC baked. But what we can say is that While Livery won the first prize, and While Livery is obviously VC baked. So. Of course, fast-growing companies a lot of times are baked by VCs. So
still there, still pumping, still VC money is bringing you forward. No, that's absolutely true. All right, since we're going toward the end of the session, any final considerations, guys? Matteo, Ubaldo, please feel free to share what caught your eyes, what insight you have for Q2.
Well, I think though I just wanted to add that we've been pretty dumb to let Doug Leone escape to the United States, where he was born and raised in Genoa. Actually, I didn't know that. I just found out recently, and I was stunned by that.
Did you go?
So,
Did you immediately go to Liguria?
We have some falls there. Yes, but then I love Liguria. I always go there, so I also quite linked to the land. So yeah, I was really shocked by that. But let's say that my int for the future is not let any other Doug Leone to go to the US, but to keep them in our country.
Awesome.
Yes, of course. Just a quick one. So really happy about this week. 10 million, 100 million of Casavo, 17 million of Uno Bravo, which is incredibly good because Inside Partners led the round, and this round had the participation of like the CEO and founder of Vinted, the CTO of BlaBlaCar, and so great business angels, a great investor, one of the best VCs in the world, and it's a Naples-based company. And this is what caught my eyes in the first when I saw the news, because basically we are happy that we do have some companies that are growing fast and not just in Milan too in Rome. So happy about this. The founder proved us that it's possible to build a great company in the south of Italy, and so I think it's a great news. And for the Q3, I do think we are gonna see more and more participation of international investor, as we say with Ubaldo during the 2021 report. So super happy about this. Let's see, and looking forward to the future.
All right. Matteo, Ubaldo, thank you so much for joining. It was a pleasure. Nick, thanks for joining as well. And I'll see you all for Q3 then, I guess.
Thank you, Jackie. It was a pleasure.
You all, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you for Q3. Bye-bye.